Thank you very much for coming. Do appreciate your attendance here. So I'll talk for about half an hour and then we can have questions after that. So I'm Claire Arthur and I'm an acupuncturist, and I'm going to explain how acupuncture works and how it can help you. So I have a question here. Would you like to live longer and have a better quality of life? If you do, I do have the answer. You can move to Dorset. The average age of, the average life expectancy of a lady in Surrey is 84 years. Of a man, it's 80 years. But if you lived in Dorset, you could increase that by 2 to 3 years. If you don't want to move to Dorset, you might want to try acupuncture. So what is acupuncture? Well, acupuncture is all about energy, the energy in the body. So the difference between something that's dead and something alive is this energy, this life-forcing energy. And the traditional Chinese medicine called this energy qi. And they found that qi ran through main channels in the body, up and down the body. So I have a little man here who can show you that there are a number of channels on the body, and they run up through the leg, up the body, and up through the arms, and they go over the head. They go all through the body, back and front, on both sides. So these lines of energy, these lines of qi, which we call meridian lines. For example, we have meridian lines that come up the front of the leg, and these are associated with digesting, processing information. So you could be processing mental information if you're studying and memorizing a lot of things. It's also associated with the digestion and processing of food. So if you overdo either one of those, you're going to impact those particular meridian lines. They'll probably become depleted. So we have these lines of qi, these meridian lines of qi. And as this meridian line passes along and through the body, sometimes it goes deep into the body, and sometimes it comes near the surface of the body. And there are points along these meridian lines where it comes near the surface of the body, and these are called acupuncture points. And this is where the acupuncturist could easily access the qi. So an example of this is, say, tennis elbow, where the qi is not flowing smoothly and is causing pain. Sometimes it's even difficult to pick up a cup because there's pain. Well, the acupuncturist most commonly will place needles above and below the site of the injury, and this will cause the qi to start flowing through. It'll excite the qi and move it through that injury site. And this will help with the pain. But often in something like that, you've got an underlying weakness as well, a deficiency in the line of qi, so that you'll be also considering strengthening those meridian lines as well, to bring strength to that area. Now, what can it do for me? Well, acupuncture, as I've said, is all about the energies in the body and rebalancing the energies in the body, rebalancing the energies in all these meridian lines. And as such, you're going to improve the functioning of the body's systems. So most commonly, digestion, sleep, menstruation, and your emotions start to move more smoothly and more freely, because that is what health is about. It's the free, smooth flow of this energy, this qi, round the body. So when you have an acute symptom, it is wise to see the doctor first. If you've broken your leg, go and get the leg x-rayed, get it set in a plaster. But acupuncture is a complement, is another way of looking at health. And as such, it can help with the pain, it can help speed up that process, that healing process, by bringing energy to those channels that have been traumatized. Another thing about acupuncture is it's very much tailored to the individual. So it's not one pill for all, like the doctors tend to do. You have to understand the individual. You understand their constitution, you know, what they're born with, their disposition, the way that they think. You have to look at all their symptoms, not just the ones that are in trouble at the moment. You look at all the signs and symptoms. You take the body completely. And you also look at the emotions. So by taking that all into consideration, you will then be able to have a look and see the root of the problem. See how these symptoms developed into being a problem. So about me, my name is Claire Arthur. I'm an acupuncturist, and I trained at the College of Integrated Chinese Medicine in Reading. And this particular college is unique in the fact that it teaches acupuncture, the traditional Chinese medicine acupuncture, as well as constitutional acupuncture. And in this fact, it's unusual for colleges to bring those two together. But having those two things together means that I have a much wider base to treat. So many more treatment options. I started life in the IT industry, and I found that acupuncture was much more in line with my values and my belief systems, and as such, much more fulfilling and interesting. I have 2 degrees, 2 science degrees, one in psychology and one in acupuncture. And I'm a member of the British Acupuncture Council, so I'm bound by strict codes of safe and professional practice. So a little bit about acupuncture. Acupuncture is thousands of years old. They produced models like this gentleman here in bronze over 1,000 years ago. So over 1,000 years ago, they produced these with all the lines of qi shown and the acupuncture points. And they even had manuals to go with them. And this is how they trained acupuncturists many hundreds of years ago in China. So even that far away, even that long ago, they were training in acupuncture. So it's been an intellectual pursuit for thousands of years in China. So what is the difference between Chinese medicine and conventional medicine in the West? Well, one of the big differences that they found was that the emotions had an effect on your physical health. Now this might seem pretty obvious. We all know that, you know, if we're getting really, really stressed, we've got this muscle tension. Sometimes it can go into a headache. If you get really, really worried about something, often it goes to your stomach and you have stomach problems. If you're very fearful, well, you want to go to the toilet. So all these things are slightly obvious to us, but they took it to be a very fine art. These intellectuals, thousands of years ago, they were treating the elite of the society. So they were treating people that didn't want to be messed with. They had to observe them from a distance to a very large degree and make a correct diagnosis, otherwise they'd be in for the job. So these intellectuals in these society had to make their living by getting it correct and by meticulous observation. So how does the acupuncturist make these diagnoses? Well, they'd be observing you, they'd be checking your tongue, your pulses, asking you many questions. All of these things will lead them to a diagnosis, an understanding of how your health has developed over the years. So many people turn with specific symptoms or conditions like headaches, arthritis, back pain, circulatory problem, menopausal problems, chronic fatigue, infertility. So commonly people come with a particular complaint. But as I said, acupuncture tends to treat the person as a whole. So it's improving your general health overall as well as the specific conditions that you have. Some people just go for acupuncture as a preventative measure. or just to improve their general sense of well-being. So I'd like to give you some understanding of some of the things that the acupuncturist will be looking for when they check for imbalances in your meridian lines of chi. And they will sometimes look, well, they will always look, for an imbalance in the yin and the yang of the body, those two different types of energy. So to describe the yin energy, here I have some earth. So if you get a feel for the earth, it's cool, it's moist, it's soft, it's moisturizing, it's nourishing. So that is a typical way to feel the yin energy, to describe the yin energy. Now, in a complement to the yin energy in the body, we have another type of energy, the yang energy. The yang energy is bright, is warm, is moving, is transforming. So you need both of these types of energy in perfect balance to be healthy. If you have too much yang energy, that fast, bright, moving energy, you might feel quite hot and restless. If you have too much yin energy, you might feel quite heavy, tired, slow and lethargic. Now another way to describe yin and yang is this painting by Clint, The Kiss. Here you've got a lovely meadow with beautiful flowers. So that's all the nourishing thing of yin energy and the dark earth. And that's coming up the woman in her gown, the circles in her gown. So that depicts very beautifully the yin energy. And then you have the male aspect with this golden ball behind of bright, warm energy. And this is coming from the stars. So it's often considered that the yang energy comes from up above. They say the heavens. And the yin energy comes up from the earth. And as you can see here, the yang energy comes into perfect harmony with the yin energy. And that's what the acupuncturist is achieving. A nice balance of yin energy and yang energy. Now, an easy way to look at that is your tongue. If your tongue is red with little coating, possibly dry, maybe you have too much yang energy in you. If the tongue is swollen, pale and wet, too much yin energy. You just might want to have a little look at your tongue when you get home in the mirror. Your pulses. So you have 3 positions here on the left arm and 3 positions on the right arm. And these positions reflect different sets of meridian lines, those lines of energy, chi, through the body. So the acupuncturist will feel a number of things on the pulses, but one of the things is the yin and the yang, as it is in those meridian lines. So, for instance, these 2 lines of energy going up the front of the leg, they're reflected in the middle position on the right wrist. And here, if the pulse is very deep and soft, you're looking at too much yin energy. If it's quite high and forceful, you're looking at too much yang energy. So here's a reflection of what's happening to your energy as it's passing through your body. Now, another aspect of acupuncture is constitutional acupuncture. This is what you're born with. This is the constitution that you're born with. In everybody there are 5 elements, 5 different aspects of you. And if you're born a certain constitutional type, then you will find that your bias is one of those 5. And as such, this will dominate how you think, how you tick, what charges your batteries, what you're susceptible with, and what your strengths are. So, if we have an example of the wood constitutional type, when the wood is in balance and healthy, they can plan and make decision making very easy. they have terrific insight and strategy to achieving those goals and the plans. So they are moving forward a lot of the time. And here we have a wood. I'm sure you all recognise her. She likes to move forward. She doesn't like to look back. She wants to get her own way. If she doesn't, she can get quite irritable. So that's a particular constitutional type. And we know from Chinese medicine that they are susceptible to certain things. So a wood would be susceptible to too much stress. You can imagine that they put a lot of stress on themselves anyway, but they tend to be more susceptible than other constitutional types to stress, to caffeine, to alcohol, to drugs. All that fires them up just too much, pushes them too much. So they are more susceptible to those things. Now, these constitutional types, they resonate with nature. So even the foods one eats, some foods are better for certain constitutional types than others. They have different tastes. A water constitutional type, which we have here in David Beckham, he would like salty things. So if you ask him out to dinner, make sure it's Marmite and salami and salty little dishes. That's what he'll like. Otherwise, if you're asking Princess Diana out for a meal, she'll like sweet things. Now she's an earth, and here she's out of balance, as we all know. Remember that interview she had? She's definitely an out of balance earth in this case. Now earth is brilliant at supporting everybody. They're the ones at the heart of making cups of tea for everyone. They're there for you, they support you. But in this case, she's now on the other end. She wants your support, she wants your sympathy. Quite often, when you see the three whites of the eyes, you can see the white below the iris as well as either side. That's a victim stance. Quite often victims will have that eye. And she's at this point feeling very needy. She wants you to support her. So she's a typical earth. Earth would be, they have different strengths during the daytime, these different constitutions. The wood constitution, well, in the middle of the night, they're at their best for creative planning and all that sort of thing, between 1 and 3 in the morning. So if you're a wood constitution, I advise you get to sleep before that time, because if you hit that time, you'll probably be up planning. But some of the great people in history have done their most creative works of art and things in the middle of the night. So it is a high time for the wood element. For the earth element, if you want to do studying or eat large meals, try to do it in the morning. The peak time for studying is now between 9 and 11 in the morning. So these different aspects of people, these different constitutions, reflect their susceptibilities as well as their strengths. So if I go back to the earth element, they are more susceptible to their diet. The processing of all this food, if it's the wrong sort of food, they're going to be more susceptible to problems than other constitutional types. Now we're going to invite Esmeralda. So here we have Esmeralda, and she's had a long and troubled life, as you can see from the lines on her face. So here we have a typical feature of, in fact, the wood constitution. Here we have a wood constitution as well. You can see his furrowed brows. But not always. You don't always have to have that if you're a wood constitution and vice versa. But these two lines here are frustration, anger, resentment, those sorts of things. And here she's got very strong eyebrows. And strong eyebrows means she's got quite good strength when it comes to anger. You know, she's got that power there. But she's got a little line above the eyebrow, so she's a bit of a skeptic. She doesn't actually, you know, believe everything. So she's got a little bit of a skeptic line there. And then we've got, yes, we've got the little laughter lines, that's fine. But in Esmeralda's case, one of the lines are going straight up to her eyebrow, which means actually it's more than laughter. She's getting hyper. She's often goes really far too excited and hyper. And in fact, that's not a good thing. It's too much. It's too much for the heart. So this is not good for Esmeralda. And then she's got little sadness lines. And then lines that hang quite low down the cheek. And this is grief. These are grief lines. These are more serious sadness lines. And then we've got a little line here, love loss line. They're little lines that come out from the side. And that means that there was something in your life that you really loved and you had ambitions for, and you just didn't do. You know, it's a love that you had that you didn't follow through. And this also reflects here. There are things that actually you didn't achieve in life. So these lines that come down the side, didn't achieve. And we've got little lines above the lip. These lines are, you give a lot. You really give perhaps too much. And perhaps, you know, you're making cups of tea for everybody else, but who makes you a cup of tea? You know, that's difficult. And then we have little lines underneath here. And I'm sure your headmistress had these lines underneath the lip. These lines are disapproval. Really, you know, I'm not happy with you, there's disapproval going on. And then we have a little stubborn line, and again, this gentleman over here has a very pronounced line there. That's stubbornness for you. And a little one here, that means you seek approval. A little line in the middle of your chin. And the little lines that come up from the chin, and perhaps the dappling of the skin here, is fear. And we have little lines here, which is lie detector lines. Esmeralda can spot a lie 100 yards away. Now for fertility on the face, well, a widow's peak is very good, and Esmeralda doesn't have a widow's peak. And also the philtrum here, the space between the nose and the upper lip, this is directly connected to fertility and to your uterus. If it's nice and deep and fresh and glowing, you're very fertile. You can actually bring more fertility to that area by stroking it, by bringing energy to it. And over time, it will start to respond. You're bringing energy to that area. So it's always worth a try. So if you ever see anybody doing this, you know what they're up to.
So those lines, they apply to whatever type you are.
That's true.
That's true. Yes. And to males as well. So
And
a
to
male
males.
is fertile if he's got a deep.
It's mainly connected to the uterus.
Okay.
So in a man, it would be his testes. So what does acupuncture help with? Well, the World Health Organization lists diseases, symptoms, conditions for which acupuncture has proven through controlled trials to be effective. Now this list is very long, so I've produced a printout, but you can Google it, and it includes lots of things, insomnia, labour pain, earache, sports injuries. So I'll leave that there for you to look at. Now the National Institute for Health and Excellence, Clinical Excellence, NICE, has produced guidelines as to the best practice for GPs. And they're saying that 10 sessions of acupuncture should be the first line in treatment for persistent, non-specific lower back pain. So there are a number of things that you would go to your acupuncturist for help with. And what would the acupuncturist do? What can you expect? Well, they ask you a lot of questions. They check your tongue. They check your pulses. And most commonly, they would use some needles. So here I have some needles. They're packed, sterile packed, and they're one use only. So once you've used them, you will dispose of them clinically in one of these things that will get collected. And these needles would be left in for about 20, well, sometimes for 20 minutes, sometimes for less, but up to 20 minutes. Another thing that can be offered is moxa treatment. So here we have a mugwort herb, and this, you can open the packet and have a sniff inside. This is clumped together and placed on an acupuncture point, and then it's lit. And this smoulders near the skin. It doesn't burn the skin, it just warms it. And basically it's warming that acupuncture point, it's warming that meridian line. So it's bringing that yang energy to that meridian line, and it's very effective. And then we have gua sha treatment. Gua sha is where you put a little bit of oil, most commonly on the lower part of your neck and the upper part of your shoulders. And then I have a jade little tool here. You just scrape down and away, progressing downwards. And if you do that for 5 to 10 minutes, say you're just coming in for a cold, you can just feel it starting. If you slap on a bit of cooking oil, get a plastic spoon out, and just do this down and away, down the back. You have to get somebody else to do it. Just for 5 to 10 minutes. Often it releases the cold and you won't go in for it. But you must make sure that you protect that back at least for 24 hours afterwards. So keep your neck and your back covered and warm for that period after doing that. Then we have cupping. Quite often people come with very stiff muscles. You know, there's a lot of tension there. And cupping is wonderful because you just pop a lighted flame in there and then place it on the skin, most commonly the back. And then you can move it around on a bed of oil, or you can leave it stationary. And this draws up the skin, and it draws up a lot of the energy through that muscle. And after about 10 minutes, there's a lot of feeling of the tension being released. There's a relaxation. So a lot of people love that cupping. And then we have the tween-arm massage, which is gentle healing massage, and acupressure, where you can use a device or your finger on a point to stimulate the point instead of using needles. So, acupuncture is a natural, holistic therapy, and it is tailored to the individual. Often people come to acupuncture because they've found that conventional medicine just doesn't address the root of their problem, and the drugs have unwanted side effects. Consider headaches, consider period pains. Often we're taking painkillers that just suppress the symptoms and don't address the underlying cause. Well, acupuncture is all about assessing the individual, all their symptoms, and looking at the underlying cause and rebalancing the body, bringing it back into balance, and so getting the body to change and then allowing it to heal. So acupuncture is an alternative way at looking at health, and as such is a complement to Western medicine. I work in the Royal Surrey Hospital with cancer patients, and there they have a lot of treatment with a lot of side effects. The specialists there advise that they have acupuncture treatment to try and help with all the side effects. So there we improve the quality of their life. I have IVF patients. The specialists that are doing the IVF treatment recommend that they have acupuncture treatment alongside the IVF treatment because it's been researched that the chances of success are greatly increased. I hope you enjoyed the presentation tonight, and I hope it's given you an insight into this very complex healing art, and it's given you an insight into the different way of perceiving individuals and perceiving their health. Acupuncture can improve the quality of your life so that you can go on and live that long and healthy life without having to move to Dorset. But more than that, I would hope that acupuncture would bring about a lasting change, a strengthening to your emotions and your physical health, so that you can go on to achieve all that you want to in life. Thank you very much for listening.
Oh, thank you.
Well done. Thank you. 30 minutes.